What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're diving into Mountainhead. This is Jesse Armstrong's new movie. He created Succession, and now he's diving into feature films, still at HBO, but feature films. This movie does have audio description, and it's actually narrated by the same person who did Succession, Eli Schiff. So, look at that. I thought that was fun. That was just like a little fun tidbit to have the same narrator. I kind of wonder if Jesse set it up that way. Like he really liked the audio description that he had for Succession and was like, could I have the same thing? Because it's been a hot minute since Succession, and there's no reason to believe that HBO would have naturally hired the same company and that company would have hired Eli. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's that. Click like and subscribe because I'm developing a cult following here. I'm gonna use that term for a little while and see if it works. And we are one, we are many, we are Jedi. This is satire. We'll go with that. It's satire. It's not quite the same level of satire, though, that we got with like Death of Stalin, which feels, which they were able to take a situation that was not current and sort of satirize it with a lot of sort of current sensibilities. That's from the creator of Veep. This is a little bit more unnerving because it feels like right now. So it's less of a ha-ha satire and more of a oh no satire. And it's gotten mixed reviews, and it deserves it. This is not as clean cut as Succession for Jesse, and I see what he's trying to do here, but it kind of makes me wonder, is this all he can ever do? Like, is his next thing going to be this? Is this what he's really stuck on? Is this patter speech that goes nowhere? This like circular speech of just talking but ultimately saying nothing, and having these characters who are all trying to outsmart each other in a room together. And one of the reasons why Succession worked so well is because you had like the Roy family, and they had levels. Like his kids were obnoxious. He clearly raised 4 obnoxious children who all were like who all were sort of insufferable. And this is sort of like just watching only the Roy children with no external characters. And there were people that they would interact with that had different experiences than them that constantly challenged them as characters, which allowed for their characters to grow, which is why by the end of the show, you actually cared about any of them because uniquely, they all kind of sucked in the beginning. Like none of them really deserved to be anywhere. And all kind of grown up as spoiled little brats. And most of them still ended as that. But at least they had, over the course of a couple seasons, grown as people. Here you only have 2 hours. And you don't have a Logan Roy. You don't have a character. And that's what's missing here, is that they have the opportunity with Steve Carell to have somebody who looks at these younger billionaires as being sort of being about him either being out of touch with them. They look to him constantly sort of for like guidance, like he sort of is the godfather of this experience. And there is a discernible age gap, and there are things that he's experiencing that the others are not. We see him diagnosed at the beginning with cancer before he ever gets to Mountainhead, and he just sort of like shrugs it off and then fires his doctor for daring to diagnose him. So he instead just becomes another one of the crowd, another part of the chatter. And I think that's what the film sort of loses in its luster, is that counterpoint, the pushback from a character, the difference of opinion, because then it just kind of gets lost in these conversations where everybody is sort of agreeing about the same thing. They eventually have a conflict that pushes the film somewhere, but even that is very loose and very light in terms of like where the movie actually ends and twists around. It just kind of shows the extremes to which these people are willing to go. The other three people are played by Jason Schwartzman, Rami Yousef, and Corey Michael Smith. The rest of the cast doesn't matter. They're not in the film more than 5 seconds. I don't know. There's congratulations, you were in the movie. You had a line of dialogue, and then you left. But it's really just these four guys, and they're held up in this huge estate called Mountain Head. And one of them makes the joke, which is absolutely the best joke in the thing, and it's the one you're going to hear the most because it was funny. But he's like, Mountain Head? You mean like the Fountainhead? who decorated? I'm bland. I was like, that's a good joke. But when they start getting into it, what's happened is one of them, Corey Michael Smith's character, runs a social media thing that has just uploaded technology that allows people to really easily create deep fakes, which is actually putting the world into global chaos and making countries are like going to war with each other over the course of this. They're just staying at this Mountain Head thing and watching the world sort of devolve around them. And they're sort of talking about it from the look at the power that we have to be able to do this. But they all sort of have relatively the same thoughts and ideas about world domination as billionaires. And, you know, you have Steve is the older, more experienced one. I don't know, the Bezos or something. I don't know. I don't know which older individual is more insufferable, but I think probably Corey Michael Smith was modeled after Elon, if I'm being honest. And I'm not trying to just say that because of anything. He feels like Elon, feels like that's what that character is going for. Rami feels, I don't know. Rami's character is interesting because he's developed part of what matters to the plot of the film is that his character developed technology that would easily define what is and what is not a deep fake. So basically, he would counterbalance Corey Michael Smith if his new tech got out there. So he's dangerous maybe to the plan, and they want to sort of acquire this new technology that he came up with. And then Jason Schwartzman is referred to as Soups. And hilariously, the reason why he's referred to as Soups just goes to show how, again, insufferable these people are. He's referred to as Soups because it's a soup kitchen reference because he's the poorest of the billionaires. So they call him Soups. So even though he's worth billions of dollars, he doesn't have the wealth that the other three have, so they've nicknamed him Soups in their friend circle. That's how inane some of this stuff is. But unfortunately, in a 2-hour film, when Jesse chooses to essentially put the Roy children together, and they don't have anybody pushing back against them, there isn't a person there who has different thoughts or ideas. Steve Carell has decided to absorb himself into the younger mentality, I guess in an effort to not die of cancer. So he is just, his age is just a number really for him because he doesn't use the wisdom to try to guide anybody in any sort of direction. They just feel like four people who are slightly different, but all share the same mentality. It's like watching four fraternity brothers go, bruh, 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 for like 2 hours. It's like, okay, could one of you have been different? And the film starts to play with the idea that Rami is slightly different because he created this thing that he wants to use that would counterbalance, but he's still very much the same type of person. It's not enough. There isn't a character here. There's no female energy in this movie at all. This is just a bunch of guys. I just don't think it works. I don't think it's bad. I think Jesse has some thoughts, and in this day and age where we are being run by billionaires, it's definitely a topic that I can see why he went for it. But I think part of what made Succession work was that we always had the other characters who clearly came from something else. Logan had to build what he got, you know, and he had to work for years and educate himself and everything. And what he was constantly worried about in Succession was the fact that his kids just sort of failed upwards. And he just kept looking at them. His line, that great line where he's like, I love you, but you're not serious people, is the reason why they use it so many times, because it defines so much. It says so much about Logan throughout the course of the series with his kids. Is yeah, he loves his kids, but he doesn't take them seriously. And even his choice at the end, the even the person who ends up sort of getting everything, represents what he actually thinks of his kids. So I think I think that's missing here. I think having somebody who has a difference of opinion or who came from somewhere else, it would have been nice to have somebody who still remembered what it was like, who was maybe a self-made billionaire and really understood his roots still and remembered. And maybe they did create something. Maybe they created an algorithm, like Mark Zuckerberg, who, I mean, yeah, he got into Harvard and stuff, but he had to work to get there. He wasn't. I don't think Mark Zuckerberg was uniquely rich before Facebook. So for somebody who remembers what that was like, who remembers sort of eating ramen and chilling and not being able to buy everything immediately, I think everybody here, even Soups, just doesn't. He doesn't feel that. He doesn't feel like he is the soup kitchen version of a billionaire. He just feels like that he's struggling to constantly live up to the expectations of other people for really an unrealistic goal that's been set for him because he's already a billionaire. It's not like he hasn't gotten his billion yet, like his net worth is actually like 900 million, and they're just like making fun of him because he's not technically the billionaire of the group. No, he's a billionaire. He just doesn't have as much as everybody else. So it's just vapid, and when you limit yourself to only 4 people, you limit the experience. There aren't really people who can come in and change. They're sort of intentionally away from the rest of the world happening at this time so that they don't have to deal with it directly. They can deal with it through phone calls. The president's trying to get to them and they're very unimpressed by it. And they're like, I don't know, the president, well, I don't know, it's kind of cool. I don't know, is it, And they're like, so, and they have lots of thoughts about what they could do to bring sort of like a new world order. And, yeah, it almost worked. It almost worked, but not really. Again, the audio description, Eli Schiff is great. It kind of becomes tedious. I think this is something that would have been better explored in a limited series that allowed him to evolve these characters over time. We could have seen where they all came from instead of them all sort of converging on this location. We could have seen maybe some backstory. We could have seen them. It would have been nice to see them as characters outside of the friend group too. Like if we had seen more of that, we get to see slightly that a little bit, just like with a couple of them, and they all kind of seem to still be idiots outside of their friend circle. So I don't know if that really helps. It needs something. There's something that's missing here. There's an ingredient that lacks in this, and it just, yeah, it just sounds like clatter. I'm going to give Mountainhead a C. I thought it was okay. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.